Here are the launches of the Apollo-Soyuz mission, July 15th, 1975. There's Leonov and Kubasov in their Soyuz launching from the Baikonur Cosmodrome at left, and at right off of Cape Canaveral, lifting off their own Saturn V pad with that milk stool are Stafford, Slayton, and Brand in the Saturn 1B and the Apollo spacecraft. Well, they get up into space and they rendezvous. You can see the Soyuz on the left with a green kind of thermal protection fabric, and on the right is the Apollo with Stafford's crew. And they came together and docked, and sometime later they opened up the tunnel between the two craft. Stafford and Slayton were in the docking module, which was required, by the way, because the Soviets use a different operating pressure. And so the docking module was meant to allow American astronauts who were in a lower pressure condition on Apollo to acclimate to the pressure used in the Soyuz, and then they could open the door and go in. Now here we'll see the opening of the hatch and Stafford and Leonov shaking hands after this historic international docking, and you'll hear Tom Stafford's peculiar brand of Russian. Both sides had to learn the other's language for the flight, but when Tom Stafford spoke Russian with his thick Oklahoma accent, they called it Oklahomsky. Anyway, here's the film.
All right, what a show. Oscar value look great. Okay, the camera. Ah! Yes, that's the good. Got it. Glad to see you. Here. That's the good. Очень рад. Это Россия, Советский Союз, Соединенных Штатов.
Stafford was saying, "It's a great day for the Soviet Union and the United States." Well, here's Stafford and Slayton toasting with tubes of what look like vodka, if you read the Russian, but in reality were filled with soup. They're inside the Soyuz, and during one of several visits back and forth by each crew to the other's spacecraft. And here are Leonov and Slayton demonstrating the true spirit of international cooperation that was so evident in this first international space mission. Well, finally, we go back to Skylab. By the late 1970s, Skylab was in danger of falling out of orbit, primarily because the Earth's atmosphere, the uppermost layer of the Earth's atmosphere, became thicker than expected due to higher than expected solar activity. This actually affects the density of the upper atmosphere, and the higher density of the upper atmosphere actually created more drag from air molecules, even though they're pretty few and far between, and by the time you get up to space, there are some, and they were slowing Skylab down, and it was going to fall out of orbit. Well, the idea had been that if they could get the space shuttle ready to fly in time, they could attach a boost module, a rocket-powered module, to Skylab and have it boost the station up to a higher orbit where it would be stable, and they could eventually revisit Skylab and maybe supply it with new supplies of oxygen and water and things like that, and keep it going. It should have been perfectly fine to keep using. Unfortunately, that didn't work out because the shuttle was not ready in time. And you can see on the right, Skylab did re-enter the Earth's atmosphere in 1979. And there's an ad from a Houston newspaper. Skylab is coming down this week, and so are our prices. Well, Skylab re-entered, and there was some nervousness at NASA about where it would re-enter. They tried to do as much as they could to control the re-entry. Of course, they didn't have very much control. About the best they could do was rotate the station so that they could adjust the amount of drag and therefore some small amount of control over where it hit the atmosphere. But in the end, it did come down over mostly unpopulated parts of Australia and the Pacific. But that was a shame. Skylab was a tremendous resource, and who knows what could have been accomplished if we'd been able to save it, or if we decided to use the second Skylab, the backup Skylab, which is now sitting in the Smithsonian. Anyway, that's all for this week. I'm Andy Chaikin, and we'll see you next week.